Hello, student. Today we are going to talk about consumer behavior. Primarily, just those who buy for personal consumption, and then why we make those decisions, and what the process is that we go through, what happens within our brains, and also because the social impacts are involved as we make decisions. And also, we will talk about why we choose the certain outlets, and then why we get down to certain brands and some of those underpinnings of behavior economics. It's a really fascinating field of study. This is the area that what I did PhD, and it's essentially psychology by taking a look at what happens in our brains and what happens in our mind in decision process. If you are interested in this field and area, please feel free to reach out to me and then we can have more conversation. So consumer behaviors that how and why we make decisions. And then it also involves that how we use the product and also how we dispose the product. Understanding consumer behavior can help marketing managers adapt the marketing mix to influence the consumer's purchasing decision. For example, if a manager knows through the research that gas mileage is the most important attribute for a certain target market, then the manufacturer can redesign the product and create the appropriate marketing mix to meet certain criteria. Here's a framework for the consumer behavior. As we discussed before, keep in mind at the center, consumers. Our consumption behavior. Here, the self-concept and lifestyle relate to consumers. The red box in the center, how we see ourselves, whether we are satisfied or dissatisfied with our current state, and also how do we live our lives, and what types of things that do we need to be our best selves. So that's at the center of it. It's influencing the self-concept and then our lifestyle and a lot of the external factors. Things that we talked about before, the environment, gender, demographics, subcultures, who are reference groups, and also who are the people that we admire, that we want to be like. For the people that we don't compete for the certain things, oh, I don't want where I wanna, because I don't want to be considered as one of those. Also, the ideas of the external influences and then some of those social influence, thinking about how other people will see us. Moreover, the internal processes that impact the way that we promote ourselves and our lifestyle. So those internal influences, our personality, our motives, and also what motivated us. And also, how satisfied are we with the different components in our life? And what are belief structures and then what are emotions? So that all those external and internal factors get into how we live in our life and then how we feel about ourselves. So once we have the self-concept and the lifestyle, sometimes we have needs for things. We need for the different things, water, food, shelter, or some of those kind of basics. Mostly we can cover what we need, and then we get involved in the process of trying to solve that problem. We try to take care of wherever that need or desire. We try to figure out what products we need or services, and then we might want to buy something. So we search around and we evaluate some alternatives to decide. So we will talk about those things today. So need recognition is the first stage in the decision-making process, and then we recognize these needs constantly. When we find just looking for goods and the services, that's maybe sometimes we don't even want to intend to buy, but just it makes us feel better because we have a look at what's out there and then we can dream about it. So we recognize these very constantly, these desires, and in these areas where we think of something, the substance, or the maybe experience that we would find can fulfill the need that we ever get rid of some level of the uneasiness. Because it comes from our self-concept, that present state, which is somewhat a state of the anxiety or the something that makes us nervous and desire the preferred state. So think about it, if we go to buy new jackets or go to some fancy coffee shop and also go to the dream vacation place, it is all related to our preferred state. So we are constantly trying to make ourselves feel better. And sometimes the consumption process help to do that. And keep in mind, there's an internal stimuli, things that happen within our bodies that stimulates those needs, whether it's hunger or thirst. And then also there's the external stimuli that we see behaviors that we see our friends engage in, and also someone that we are envy or jealous of. So there's a lot of external stimuli as well. The consumer decision process begins when consumers recognize that they have an unsatisfied need, and then they would like to go from their actual needy state to a different desired state. The greater the discrepancy between these two states, the greater the need recognition will be. Functional needs pertain to the performance of the product or services, like the public transportation. If we need transportation, we can get on the bus, and then, but if we think about we need a sports car, the latter is more the psychological needs. So the psychological needs pertain to the personal gratification consumers associate with the products or the services, like you want sports car. So the psychological needs may be involved more a lot of the social risk or a lot of more the financial risk. So one thing I would like to take a look at is because it gives you a definite idea of the why our self-concept, especially in Instagram era, we can see our pictures every day, and then also all of the postings encourage to buy the more hair creams, cosmetics, or the skin creams. This stuff sketches shows that how we see ourselves, and it also relates to the need recognition. It makes me almost sad. I encourage you to look at this video. So after watching the videos, please think about these questions. So keep in mind that a marketing manager's objective is to get consumers to recognize the imbalance between their present status and then their preferred status. Advertising and the sales promotion often provide these stimulus. Some of those stimulus create us to be somewhat anxious, that we feel like, and then also we need to do something about it. So once we realize that need, we start searching for the information. How are we going to fulfill those needs? The first place that we look at is in our brain as the biggest computer. An internal search for the information is the buyer examines his or her own memory and then knowledge about the products or services gathered through the past experience. And that's the first place that we normally look. In an external search for information, the buyer seeks information outside his or her personal knowledge base to help to make the buying decision. In an external search for the information, the buyer seeks information outside his or her personal knowledge base to help to make buying the decisions. So we normally, the first starting point is like searching our phone and computer, and then also another external search is like talking to our friends that who knows about those information. Some of the search process takes a long time, and the others take a little bit of the time. So it depends on what type of sources we use. The time goes different. So it depends on whether we think there's a benefit or there's a cost. So our time is valuable. So we may also not want to certain people that if they don't know about those products and the services. So that is the first thing that we can compare, the benefits versus cost. The next thing is that how people feel about the control. So those who have the internal locus of control, then they are more reliant on the internal search than the external search. On the other hand, those who have the external locus of control, then they believe more the external factors. On the other hand, those have the external locus of control, they believe more the fate or destiny, which is the external factors control all these outcomes. So they believe if it doesn't matter how much the information they gather, and then if they make a wise decision, then it is not their credit, but also if they make the poor decision, that is not their fault. And also there's many different types of risk, and then we just talk about time as well. So in the following slides, I explained more detailed informations, more definitions here. So please read them and then review all those concepts. So this is the video I recommend you to watch. It's about 3 brain hacks to help control your Amazon shopping addiction. Most of you do the Amazon shopping, so it would be highly relevant to you. According to this video, think about what are some of the driving forces that behind our needs to shop. So there are several driving forces mentioned in this video. Our driving force is that shopping is often used as a coping mechanism for dealing with our stress. And another driving force is the lack of impulse control and then desire for instant gratification. And another thing is that in human neuropsychology, they may not be prepared to navigate those advertisements and then not jump to those social media age. So there's often disconnect between our present and then our future self, and then it attracts us to spend more because the consequences are not immediate. So let's watch this video and then think about these questions. So once we got the search process, then now we are in the mode of the evaluate of alternatives. So first, the universal set is about all possible choices for the product category. And then we get the retrievals, that is the what lives in our brain is something that we can retrieve internal information search. Once you have the retrieval set, then you move on to the evoked or consideration set. So it is compromising all the alternative brands or stores that consumers state that they consider them when they're making final decisions. So the example is, so let's say I was on the road trip. I went to a gas station and decided I wanted to have a soft drink. My universal set would be that everything that is in the refrigerator. Then the retrieval is something that I bought, and then something I have in my brain. And then finally, the one that I would consider most often would be those 3 soft drinks: Fanta, Coca-Cola, and also Sprite. So those are the ones that I probably considered during the time of the period, and then I was able to bring up all I can think of as a consideration set. So we know that what our vote to our consideration sets, that what we are going to determine among our consideration sets. Normally, if this is something that has the higher level of the involvement, then we have the considerable amount of search, and then it involves more risk, such as financial or the social risk or the other risk. So we will look closely at those product attributes, and then we will use the cutoff criteria. And also we buy rank attributes by importance. Now that sounds like a lot of work, but some of this happens automatically in our brain. So we will talk about how some of those things work with a couple of scenarios in the following slides. Keep in mind that the goal of the marketing manager is to determine which attributes have the most influence on the consumer's choice, and then design marketing mix that stresses those attributes to the consumer. A single attribute such as price may not always explain the consumer's evaluation of products. So attributes that the marketer may consider important are not always important to consumers. Like kind of brand names such as Apple may have a significant impact over the choice of the products. So let's take a look at some of these processes. So this is the video about how Apple and Nike have branded in your brain. So, I highly recommend you to think about this question, the why it is important to brands to have the strong brand identity, and then post-watch the video and then find the answer. So humans have a fundamental need for the support system. By choosing the different brands, we are trying those brands to our identity. So brand choice involves determining which conceptual pathway that consumer wants to follow. This also impacts the perception of the other half of the consumer, because the brand choice ties the consumers to a specific group. These brand identity relationships can deepen to the point that they are reflective or familiar relationships, and while also impacting behaviors. Ultimately, brands can become the pillars of our identity. So watch this video and then think about which brands you feel they represent your identity. After we make a decision, whether we feel good about it or feel bad about it, the post-purchase, we have 3 different feelings. First one is the dissonance or discomfort, that you feel dissatisfied. So I attached a video here about the Jerry Seinfeld buying a jacket, which I think is hilarious. And then this is the feelings kind of very easily. We also feel kind of uncomfortableness after we purchase. We just keep thinking whether our purchase is good or not. We will talk about more in the following slides. Or we can excellently be satisfied and happy and say, I'm gonna go back those people in the store all the time. That's wonderful. So if the people, they just want to be loyal to your company and spread out the word, then they can be your advocates. That's amazing. So let's talk more about the cognitive dissonance and then discomfort. Imagine that you consider buy 1 laundry detergent, and then you go to the Walmart, and this is the common shelves that you will face. There's a lot of different types of detergents, different brands, and maybe you will spend some time to look at what is that you really want. And people in general, they want more information and they want to know more about it. So one interesting experiment shows that when people buy laundry detergent, those who have the more types of laundry detergent and the more information, they end up with choose the worst product. So it's ironic. People usually want more options and then more information, but actually this not always result in the best result. So this relates the concept of the paradox of choice. Another famous example shows that in the scenario that there are 24 choices of jam and versus 6 choices of jam. Although many people think 24 choices of jam is interesting, but actually more people buy when there's 6 choices of jam. Because these excessive choices make us miserable. So we have tons of choice today, and this excessive choice makes us miserable. So it's easy to cause the feelings of regret and anticipated regret, thinking about what if this choice is not the best choice. And it also causes keep thinking about the opportunity costs, and sometimes even it may we feel as paralyzed if we don't make a choice because we feel overwhelmed. So we just defer our choice. And also it escalation of the expectation, because there are the more options, you want to make the best choice, and it make you nervous. And then even with those choices, you self-blame yourself whether you make the best or the smart choice for that. Another concept I would like to highlight is the maximizer and the satisficers. There are two different types of person. Maximizers is more person who just try to search all the information and then try to get the best product given all the data. On the other hand, there's a satisficer that just go on and then find some acceptable choice, and then they just go with it. So those are probably not going to have those have the escalation of the expectation or the self-blame. They are just satisfying the maximizers to do all this research. We really want to have some good result for that. So this is about the reason why people have the paradox of choice. So as a marketer, how can you resolve this problem? So the first solution is that take the cognitive load off for your customers. You have tons of information in the Amazon, even just by one item. So what Amazon does is they organize the information more user-friendly. So they organize the information by category, and then also they provide another subcategory, and then also they provide some of the filters so that customers can have narrowed down their search. And the second solution is provides the personal shopper. So let others choose for those products based on your preferences. Use social influence to suggest the products. Even you consider to watch one movie or just the show, in this day you go to the review website and then see how people rate them. So those kind of the social influence give you the information that you make the right choice. So that is another solution. And another solution is don't let the inertia delay your customer's decision. So give them the feeling of the urgency and the scarcity. It helps to make the people not to defer their options. So this is the website, kind of booking.com. When you might also see similar things when you consider to book a hotel or the airline tickets. So only like kind of 4 rooms left, and then it's going to be fully booked soon. Those kind of the phrases make you feel that you should make decision quicker. The last solution is to reduce the post-purchase regret. So we mentioned that after people buy the products, then they just keep thinking about whether that is the best choice. So even with the stage of the post-purchase, you can give some information. So sharing to your customers who bought your product with the reviews that who already bought those products, and then share those testimony whether that product was very effective and then you made a best choice. So this is the solution that you can avoid paradox of choice. So we talk about the consumer's buying process, and that was the linear buying process. But what I want to now talk about is that actually in the digital world, this purchase model is not the linear. So I want to highlight differences between this old and the new model. The old model is kind of purchase funnel. So it is linear and then goes to wide to low. So you have the large consideration, so you have the large universal sets, and then it just go to narrow down and then end up with the consideration sets. So therefore, the options that can be keep decreasing and then have the final decision. But the new model is the consumer decision journey model. The difference is that first you have some of the consideration sets, and then you search for the one of those two brands and then start to know more about the new brand information. So you consider that can be expand and then become narrower and then wider again. So it's very dynamic, and this process moves back and forth, which is not the linear like the old model. So we have the different things that we are searching. So far, we talk about the consumer's buying process or the linear buying process. But what I want to highlight is the fact actually in the digital era, it's not always the case. So I just want to highlight two different models. First is the old model that we just talked about. So the old model is the purchase funnel. It is linear and then goes the wide to low. In other ones, when the consumer search more information in the first place, and then you narrow down the options. So your consideration set becomes smaller and smaller, as we discussed before. So therefore, the option that they consider keep decreasing, and then they just have one final decision. But in the new model is the consumer's decision journey model. This is the difference from the old model, because first you have the certain consideration set, and then you search the one or two brands and then start to know about the different brands information. So then your consideration set become larger again. And then you search again the more information, and then you narrow down your options. So your consideration sets can be expanded and then become wider and then narrow down. So the process move back and forth, and it is not the old model. It's not the linear. So this is the video to explain about consumers' decision journey. So please watch this video. So as we look at in the consumer journey, we want you to as much as possible as you can to really do a digital communication phase. So to eliminate the consider and evaluate phase, first you can do is automation. So get people into a checkout box as quick as you can. Streamline the journey steps. The easy button for the Amazon Prime, just buy now, so you can save all those shipping information and the preferences. That's really helpful. Other things that you can do is the personalize. So the more you can personalize, then the better. You know that a lot of very sophisticated apps for travel, entertainment, or other products, they utilize the experiences we have had, and then they read them and then customize it. So I just order kind of groceries online right now from the Target, and then when I order them, they have some of my older transaction histories, and then I can just reorder from that. So they can do those best practice because they know my older history in interactions. The next one, you do contextual interaction. How many times do we get the online and the purchase site? Some little helpful face just pop up in the corner, differently put a face on that outfit that can humanize and more. And then also we have less feeling of that we are just talking to bots when we just talk about your products and the services. And also oftentimes that you do have some kind of basic interactions. You know where people are, you know, and also what they look for and then what they try to figure out. Those are some of the missing components that what they need. So how can we upsell them and the bigger model? And then also the better models to let them to stay. So you have some of the contextual interactions, right, when they are on the site and at that point. So it kind of that give you some of the scenario where the personal selling emphasis in the very specific context and overcome people's objections, which is absolutely the perfect time. So contextual interaction, then journey innovation. How can we extend our interactions to some the new place of the value? So how can we take that journey that you are on the upsell to other areas? Maybe more things from us that have been talked about the customer journey. So if you're interested in more about how we can marketing in the digital world will lead to the consumer's decision journey, you can also learn more about this in the digital and internet marketing class. And this is all about the class today. Thank you for watching, and we see you in the next chapter.